And the average cost of funeral expenses in the U.S. today, it's around $8,000 to $12,000. And the sad reality is, like what you were saying, is when somebody dies, it's one thing to worry about how am I going to bury this person, and then also in addition to that, you have to also worry about grieving the loss. And so it's a delicate situation to be in. And so that's why we decided that life insurance is important to us, so that when one of us leaves, we would have time to grieve. Hello, I'm Tijani Musa.
And I'm Yazmin Musa, and this is how we're doing it.
Welcome to How We're Doing It. Here we'll share stories about our journey and experiences of being first-generation college graduates, our family, buying our first home, moving across the country, and living a debt-free lifestyle. We do so in an authentic, fun, and educational way to help other first-generation immigrants with similar paths. So, Yasmin, what's on the menu today?
Today we're talking about life insurance.
Life insurance. All right. That's a serious topic.
It is.
Because in our community, where we come from, being first generation, this is not something that we normally talk about because it involves dying and somebody else claims the benefits after you're gone. And so because of that, it's almost like a taboo subject to discuss within our community.
It certainly is. And it's something that you and I did not start discussing in seriousness until we became parents.
Yes, absolutely. And before we go ahead and talk about life insurance, first I want to take the time to set the stage. What a life insurance, by definition, what it actually is. By definition, a life insurance is like a contract. A contract between you and the company. It's like the mortgage contract that you sign, or when you go to the dealer and pick up a car, you sign a contract. And essentially you're saying that, or you agree that in exchange for your money, the insurance company will cover you. And when you're gone, your loved ones will be able to make the claims. So life insurance is essentially a contract between you and the company agreeing to those terms. So that's what life insurance is.
Thank you for breaking it down.
Absolutely. Because I want to set the stage, and so that, because this podcast is us sharing our experiences for things that we've done, or things that we're doing, or things that we are almost 100% confident that we are going to do. And so we don't provide advice because we're not financial advisors or life insurance agents. We are sharing our experiences for our community, first generation immigrants. And so sometimes these terminologies can get in the way of understanding a simple effort or a simple initiative or a simple task or a simple thing to do to cover your family. So it's almost important to break things down to the simplest form.
So since you broke it down for us, can you tell us a little bit about why life insurance was important or is important to us and our family?
Yes, I can answer that, but I also want to connect it to why life insurance is important to us and then also to our audience. And in order to do that, let me go ahead and tell you, when should you get life insurance?
Okay.
Right? So there's life, your actual life, and then you have stages of life, right? So let me tell you when in your life you should consider getting life insurance. All right? For example, you were single before we got married.
Yes.
When you were single, no one depended on you.
Right.
So yes, you can get insurance because you were younger then and your health is in good condition. So if you get insurance at that time, the cost of insurance will be lower. So, but it is not mandatory for you because no one depends on you.
Right.
So you're okay waiting to get insurance as a single person.
Okay. Good to know.
Right? So what about if you're newlywed? Right? Me and you got married. At this point, because we get married, right? Now I depend on you, and then you depend on me.
Right.
So now, when you get to that stage in your life where you have a life partner, they depend on your income to some extent. You should start considering getting insurance.
Okay.
All right. And then, what about you're married and then you add a child to the mix?
So I want to say that's a definite yes.
Absolutely. Because now you're adding to people that depend on you.
Mm-hmm.
Your spouse depends on you, but now you have a young person under the age of 18 who also depends on you, not only for feeding or meeting basic needs, but also for the future, for educational expenses, debt, mortgage, all of those things. So for those reasons, when you start adding to your family, you should be considering getting insurance at that point.
Okay.
All right. And then I know what you're thinking. What if you're retired now? You're in your 50s, almost retirement age, or let's say you're in your 50s, you've paid off your mortgage. What then? When you that's a term that Dave Ramsey uses. You are an empty nester, right? Your kids are 18 and above. They're gone off to college or they graduated from college. Now they can take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So what now? Do you still get insurance? Yes, because you still married. You still have a partner that depends on you, and potentially, even though you may have paid off your mortgage, which is good, you also may have credit card debts. You may have consumer debt somewhere. And so for those reasons, right, it is recommended that you still consider getting insurance. And it's important at that age to get insurance early on because the older you get, study shows your insurance monthly payments or premiums could go up by age because at that point they think that your health or your whole health is at a higher risk. And so as you get older, you become a higher risk for coverage. And so they charge you more. So even though you're in your 50s, you should also consider getting insurance. So what if you're retired? Even if you're retired, let's say you retired at the age of 65, you still have at least 25 to 30 years to live, right? You should also consider getting life insurance because you still have a spouse and potentially you also have debt. Those are some of the things that if you follow us, you know that we followed Dave Ramsey and we to get out of debt and we've shared our debt journey, all of those things. And another thing that I want to add that's not on the day-to-day reasons for people to get insurance is I want to add this one. First generation. That's not a category, but for this episode, we are going to add first generation. As a first generation immigrant, right? Me coming from Africa, you're coming from Mexico. You should also consider getting life insurance because you don't have old money in your family. Everything that we have, we are building from ground up. And so because we don't have that money from generations down to us, it is also important for us to consider life insurance. So I want to tie that into why we decide to get life insurance in the first place in our family. And the most important reason we've been talking about it since we started researching about Dave Ramsey. So before we got married, we still talk about these things, but we didn't get serious with it until Yazmin came into the picture.
That's right. When I think when we got married, we discussed, hey, this is something that we should look into. This is something that we could prepare for. But you and I at the time, we were working on other goals. We were working on getting out of debt.
Right.
We were working on building an emergency fund.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, those two goals were our main priority. And we said, you know what? I love you. And if something happens to you, it'll be horrible. But we both have careers and we will both be able to continue to sustain ourselves should the other person, God forbid, end up leaving the other. And so at that point, we made the decision, okay, not right now, but as soon as we bring children into the picture, we will reconsider and we'll talk about this again.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we did. By the time I was pregnant, it was a conversation that we started having. Hey, we're bringing a little one into this world.
Mm-hmm.
That means that our finances need to reflect that, right?
Right.
What are we going to do to ensure that she's protected should anything happen to you, should anything happen to me?
Right. It's important because just like I was stating, right? At this point, we are thinking more than just us. We're thinking about the family we're adding. These are kids that didn't ask to be added or to be brought to this world. And another way to look at life insurance is basically being selfless, right? Understanding that, hey, I've made a commitment to my spouse that I'll be there for them in high terms and then also in low terms. And so, because of that, you are saying that I'm going to cover myself, I'm going to cover my life in case I leave you too soon or too early. At least you can use that money to take care of your expenses and also take time to grieve. And so it's the same as adding to your family. You're bringing kids to this world and they didn't ask for that. And so the least you can do is protect them and give them the opportunity to be able to be educated and also be able to have basic needs met.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the point you made about us being first generation, and that's why it's important for us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The old money thing, that doesn't even exist for us. Nothing that we have has been handed to us in any way.
Right.
And so it was, I think, 3 times more important to me that I have the security that I know that if something were to happen to you, Jasleen and I will be okay.
Right.
We'll be devastated, obviously,
Absolutely.
but we will be okay financially, and it's a peace of mind. It's something great. I see so many people nowadays, a family member passes away, they lose someone, and they have to create GoFundMe to help pay for funeral expenses, and for the cost of a funeral is insane.
Absolutely.
I just personally learned because I had a family member pass away. And when I was told the cost of the funeral, I was shocked. It's expensive.
It's not funny.
It's not, no. And to me, it's really sad that, these things happen, that's life. We're all we're here one day, and the next day we might not be. Nothing's guaranteed. And so not having a plan is the scariest thing. And that's why, for me, I choose to have a plan. I choose to know what's going to happen in this scenario. And it's difficult conversations, right? It's difficult accepting it, but at the same time, I know that it's for the best for me and for my child.
Absolutely. And the average cost of funeral expenses in the U.S. today, it's around $8,000 to $12,000. And the sad reality is, like what you were saying, is when somebody dies, it's one thing to worry about how am I going to bury this person. And then also, in addition to that, you have to also worry about grieving the loss. And so it's a delicate situation to be in. And so that's why we decided that life insurance is important to us, so that when one of us leaves, we would have time to grieve and take that time without having to worry about how to bury this person and all the expenses associated to that. And for the listeners that are listening, we are in our 30s, early 30s. We're very, very young. And we know that it's very, very important to have life insurance for the reasons that we've been talking about. And so, though we are young, matter of fact, this is a good time to actually consider getting insurance, because when you're young, your health is still very much good. And so for that reason, your insurance costs would be very low. And so those are the times that you should highly consider getting life insurance, compared to as you get older, your health started also keeping up with you. And then at that point, insurance companies started thinking, okay, this person is at a high risk. And so for that reason, we're going to charge them more monthly payments, more premiums. And so to avoid all of that, we encourage you to consider getting insurance when you're younger.
Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about, because we started talking about this when Jaslyn was born, and we started the process in 2021,
Right?
right after she was born. Maybe even 2022, like that January, I believe, is when we started the process.
Mm-hmm.
However, my policy was in place and yours was not. Can you
Right.
kind of guide us through what happened, why
Right.
that came about?
Absolutely. So for me, Yasmin got her policy, and then I got a quote. I was told that okay, my policy is gonna be around $50. I said okay because I understand insurances and how they work. Even with like car insurance, uh, men tend to pay more in insurances for some reason because of all factors that they have. Like men are more likely to engage in risky behaviors and whatnot. And so I understood that. And so when they told me that my insurance could potentially be around $50 a month, I said, okay. I talked to Yasmin and I said, okay, we will be able to manage that. And so after the quote, the insurance company went ahead and did what they needed to do, their evaluations of my records, my health information. And then they came back to me. They said, hey, Tijani, we quoted you at $50, but the way we're seeing things right now, your actual quote is going to be around $90. I was like, $90. I'm thinking about $50 because now we have to pay for Yasmin's insurance. So we're looking at potentially adding around $80 to $90 for the both of us on a monthly basis of life insurance coverage. And so when they came back, they said just me is at a $90. I was like, what happened? And the agent explained to me that they saw something in my medical record that basically made them reconsider the $50 quote. And now that they've evaluated my record, they thought that I was at a higher risk. And so for that reason, my new payment will be around $90. And I told them, I was honest with them. I said, I appreciate you looking into the information and coming back with me with this, but $90, just me, that's too much because we're still working on our finances and trying to make things happen. So long story short, I didn't go with that quote. So that's from 2021. And so I just let it be. Dave Ramsey actually talked about something like this where if an insurance company denied a claim, one of the things that you could do is wait until your health improves, and then try again. So that's one of the things that I did. So because they came and told me about that, obviously it concerned me, right? Because now you're talking about my health, and so I followed up with my primary care physician to see exactly what was going on, and they had concerns about some medical conditions in my record, and so they made a basically what do they call it when a referral, that's the term I'm looking for. They made a referral to a specialist, and I went to the specialist. We did evaluations, all of those things. Long story short, everything was processed down, and so I waited from 2021. I didn't talk about it anymore until 2023,
Yes.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so last year, it just clicked in my head. I said, you know what? There are so many life insurance companies in the US. I could go with someone else. And so I went ahead and went with someone else, and they did their thing. I sent them the same medical records that I had previously shared with the first agent, and they came back with me. They said, okay, we are able to cover you, and your new insurance payment would be less than $40, just me. And but to compare the rates, I still went back to the first agent. And now when they came back to me, you know what they told me?
I don't
Originally,
remember.
yeah, originally they had said $90, but the new quote, they said it was $120.
Why?
Yeah,
Just for funsies?
I guess for yeah, I was like, okay, you're not making sense. First, I didn't pay the $90. What makes you think that if you add another $50, I'm gonna pay it? Anyway, I went with a new insurance company, and they gave me a similar quote, and now I'm insured. Yasmin is insured, and both of us are paying less than $80 for insurance coverage
For both of us.
for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very happy with that. And Yasmin, actually, you left that company.
I left the company that did not accept you. Well, they wanted to charge you
Exactly.
120.
They wanted to charge me more. And so we actually shopped a new coverage for you with the same claim,
Yes.
but new company, and you ended up saving like $3-4.
It wasn't a big difference, but we're like,
Right.
hey, over a year, that's an amount.
Over
you know?
$60. Yep.
Yeah,
You can save over $60 a year.
And we're all about saving.
Absolutely. We are always evaluating our expenses, and where we can cut expenses, we cut them. Where we can save money, we save it. And that's what we do, and that's how we do it every single time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I want to add a few things if you would allow me.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right. So the question is, right? After you listen to all this information, you would ask yourself, so Tijani, so why should I get life insurance? I've shared with you the different stages of your life when you should consider life insurance, but I have not shared with you in a bullet format as to the reason why you should get life insurance. Do you want to know why?
Absolutely. Let me know.
All right, I'm going to give you these 5 different keys as to why you should get life insurance.
All right.
All right, and I'm doing this for the community. I'm doing this, what do people call it? For the culture.
Sure.
All
Okay.
right. Go ahead.
Yes.
All right, let me do it. These are 5 keys or 5 reasons why you should get life insurance. Number 1, life insurance can financially protect your family, which we've covered already. Number 2, it can replace lost income, right? Number 3, life insurance helps your loved ones pay off debt. Number 4, it can cover funeral expenses, which we've also covered. Number 5, it can reduce your chances, or should I say, this is like a sub note. It can reduce your chances for setting up a GoFundMe account, right? That's you can say 4A or 4B. The 5th reason why you should get life insurance is it can help pay off future educational expenses for your kids. And those are the reasons why you should consider getting life insurance, especially when you're married and considering having kids.
Definitely when the kids are here.
Absolutely. Kids, mortgage, debt. Because when you get married, my debt is your debt is my debt, especially when we sign it together. And so for that reason, it's only right.
That mortgage too.
It's the right thing to do, to get life insurance to cover those things.
Because if you, like for us, for example, we're relying on both of our incomes to cover our mortgage. So if I lose you, I'm not going to be able to stay in the house.
That's right. And I don't want that to happen because that house is nice. You want to keep it.
And then Jasleen and I won't have somewhere to live.
Right. Do you wanna tell us what type of life insurance that we have? Because there are like so many life insurances out there. It's over 15 different life insurances. Do you want to tell the listener or our audience which one we have?
A term life.
That's correct. Term life. Why term life? Do you know why? Or do you know why we went with that instead of whole life?
Well, we need it for the amount of time that we work on continuing to build our wealth.
Right.
And eventually we plan on getting to a point where we will be self-insured and will not needed.
That's right. Definitely. And then also within we have term life 20 years, and within 20 years, Jasleen hopefully would be graduated from college or whatever she chooses to do. She would be in a position with everything that we're putting in place for her. She will be in a position where she could be self-sustainable. She will be able to do her own thing and run her own life without depending on us. And so that's the reason why we went with term.
You smiling at me, I'm smiling at you.
Are you gonna say anything?
No, I mean you said it.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add?
Who would you recommend? Like, if I have no idea where to start looking for life insurance, what would you recommend I do?
That's a good question. I like that question. So for life insurance, I think I'll recommend two companies, right? The first one is Ethos Life, ETHOS Life, Ethos Life. And the reason why I recommend Ethos Life is they don't ask for medical exams. The questions would ask you for your medical record, but they don't ask you for medical exams, and they would offer you an instant quote. Basically, what you're gonna pay on a monthly basis, they will tell you right there and then within 10 to 15 minutes of filling out the application. And the second company that I recommend is Xander Life. And this is the same company that Dave Ramsey's recommend. And the reason why I recommend Xander Life is like a marketplace. When you go to them, they can insure you, or they have agents that could work with you and shop around to ensure that they meet your needs. And so those are two different companies that I recommend to go with or to start with. If all else fail, right, you go with your ideal company. They deny you. You go with Ethos. You don't want to pay what they charge you. You go with Xander's. They charge you too much, or they deny you. You can get insured through your work. We don't recommend that, but your work also has life insurance that they can offer you, and oftentimes it comes free of charge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You have any other questions? She's thinking.
Have you heard of insurance where, like, well, I guess insurance crimes where
Fraud?
not like, is it fraud? I don't know if you call it fraud, but it's the usual. Oh, the partner takes a life insurance policy on their spouse and then have like a plan to kill them.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a fraud.
They have a scheme to get rid of them and be able to cash out the life insurance, but they have to make sure that it's it's done in like a way that the insurance won't find out. Yeah, I guess it's fraud.
Yeah, I think you listen to too many crime junkie shows and TV shows, podcasts and all. I think Well,
every time I used to hear life insurance, that's what I would think about. I'd be like, oh my God, someone's trying to kill them.
What? And you're highly educated, right? And if you listen to those things, imagine what our community listens to or things that they hear.
Yeah.
And the difference between us being the community where we come from and rich people is access to information.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the reason why we're talking about this.
Yeah. It took me a long time to like reframe my mindset.
Right.
To realizing that this is something that is for safety, right? And
Mm-hmm.
needed.
Right.
And not because you as my spouse have a plan to kill me.
Right. Exactly. That's some crazy stuff, because I don't want to live a day without you. So.
Oh, okay.
She's like, okay, end it right there. Anything else? All right. Thank you. That was a nice episode, and I hope you gained a thing or two from us sharing our experiences on life insurance and how we're protecting our families.